I'm Corbitt with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, September the 4th, brought to you in part by Specialty Risk Insurance. They can meet your every need for ag business insurance, including LRP and PRF policies, but Kevin Charleston and his team can meet every need you might need for insurance on your farm and ranch. For more information, go to specialtyrisk.com. Value of gain, and that's the best argument for the way these feeder cattle are selling, guys. It's just unprecedented how much you can pick up as you put pounds on cattle. And I'm going to go through and tip my hand a little bit for the all-time record high, and it is your top quote for the day. We had 100 head of steers, weighed 936 at 375. Now that's $3,510 a head, and you got to take them to 1,700 pounds at least, but at a pretty conservative cost of gain, especially for a farmer feeder of 75 cents a pound, you're going to cost another 573 pounds on there. That's $4,083 a head. Your February live cattle futures are at 241.62. You bring that back from 1,700 pounds, that's $4,107.54. It washes. It does a little more than wash. It's not betting on the come as much as we've done a lot of times in the past, guys. And this corn basis in the northern plains is easily 50 cents under, and your corn's only sitting at $4.18 a bushel. So, I mean, a lot of this stuff kind of makes sense. I mean, I know it's extreme, and I know these prices seem astronomical on these feeder cattle, but, you know, it kind of works out better than it has a lot of times in the past here. But, man, our rib primals are just going through the roof. 643 on your rib primals there. That's the highest price they've ever been in September. And placements in northern plains have been way over 100% of a year ago, as opposed to the southern plains, which have been way under 100%. So now, this week, it's looking like we're not going to really have a premium to the northern plains fed cattle market. And we saw that happen on Wednesday, and the Fed Cattle Exchange really showed how strong they are in price discovery and market transparency there. Fed Cattle Exchange opened up, and that was the first trade we saw on Wednesday. They had their sale, and they sold Texas cattle from 242 to 242 and a half. Now, a lot of them were thinking it was going to be a lower market. I know that's only steady to 50 cents higher, but still, it's a strong showing for what the market could be this week. Immediately after that, we saw packers start bidding 242 in Kansas, and then they got some cattle bought that way. Not a whole lot, but all they were bidding in the northern plains was 242. That's no premium for the northern plains now. And in fact, they did sell some cattle in the northern plains or in the corn belt there for 242. So we've erased that northern plains, southern plains discount. And that's just the way of the world. We've had no Mexican imports to put in those Texas feedlots, and a lot of the cattle are just migrating to the northern feedlots there. I want to tell you about Gelbvieh influence in your genetics. Gelbvieh Balancer bulls add pounds, make the grade, and deliver the value. Grow with Gelbvieh, make pay weight and more profit. For more information, go to gelbvieh.org. Also, I want to tell you about a sale that's coming on here tonight. On Thursday evening, it's at Callaway Livestock Center. They have a monthly Thursday night special, and it's here tonight, a special cow sale. They're going to have 800 to 1,000 head of cows. It's going to start at 6 o'clock p.m. They've got the full gamut, and the quality will be right, guys. They've got first calf heifer pairs. They've got 3-in-1 heifer pairs. They've got young pairs, young bred cows, young pairs, 400 head of young bred cows, mostly black with a few reds on them, and older bred cows also, and they'll have everything in between Be sure and check them out at DVAuction.com at Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri. That's right on I-70, right spat in the middle of Missouri. Let's talk about your board on Wednesday. October live cattle down $1.20 at $238.32. December was down 90 cents at $240 1/4. Your back months on live cattle were down 7 cents to down 85. Now feeder cattle contracts, September was down 217 at 362.07. October down 220 at 361.50. And your far away months on feeder cattle contracts were down 140 to down 240, which is a pretty good hit for the feeder cattle. Talk about your grains. New crop December corn down 5 at 4.18 a bushel. Beans for November new crop down 9.5 cents at 10.31 1/2. And hard red winter wheat for December down 1 cent at 5.10 1/2 a bushel. Your fat cattle trade started to develop, as I told you earlier, in your direct trade out of your 5-area feeding region. Iowa sold 700 head at that 242, which would be $3 lower. That's the same market as the Southern Plains is getting, and 385 dressed. Nebraska sold 2,000 head, all at 383 dressed. Now that's dropping a couple bucks lower off the bottom side of that price spread on dress market there. Kansas sold 900 head at 242, which would be steady, and Texas sells 800 head from 242 to 242 1/2. Most of that on the Fed Cattle Exchange. Couple of fat cattle auctions. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota had about 950 head for their slaughter cattle auction. Fed cattle sales were $1 to $2 higher. Conventional fed cattle sell from 243 1/2 to 246, and the program cattle, mostly non-implanted, sell from 245 to 252. That's well above your direct trade there. Glacial Lakes Livestock in Watertown, South Dakota had a lighter run, about 450 head for their slaughter cattle sales. Fed cattle sold steady. Conventional fed cattle from 240 to 246. Non-implanted fed cattle from 245 1/2 to 250. They had Holstein steers there at Watertown selling from $2 to 222, and big fat fed cows from 175 to 186. You're talking about your box beef. They were higher on Wednesday. 416.01 on your choice cuts, up 259, and selects were up 156 at 387.73. Your slaughter through the first 2 days of the week, because we didn't have any slaughter at all on Monday, 242,000 estimated cattle slaughter. You can't compare that to a week ago because there wasn't a holiday, but compared to the holiday week from a year ago, we were down 13,000 head. Talk about what else is going on. Legacy Beef Co-op. This is the co-op is going to own a 20% stake in Cattleman's Heritage Beef Plant being constructed near Council Bluffs, Iowa. You can become a member right there. You can reserve your harvest spot. Those will become tradable and gain in value as time goes on. Get a hold of James Timmerman at legacybeefcoop.com. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They're working to protect your livelihood, guys. Your real-time index late in the day on Thursday after your feeder cattle auctions had concluded was sitting at 365.53, up to date and current 7-day moving average, down 231. And it was a big downer on Wednesday there. And most of it was because we dropped those high prices from last Wednesday off that 7-day moving average. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index sitting at 365.43, only a dime a hundredweight off of your real-time index. I want to tell you about St. On's Livestock in St. On's, South Dakota. Coming up here on Friday, they're going to have a big feeder cattle special. They got 2,500 yearlings coming right off the grass. You don't have many more opportunities to buy green grass yearlings, guys, but they've got them at St. Ange on Friday. Check them out. Talking about your sales on Wednesday, your big sales, OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, had 7,650 head for their 2-day sale with calves on Tuesday, feeders on Wednesday. The feeder steers sold steady to $2 higher. Feeder heifers $1 to $6 higher with a little more quality on the heifers. Steer calves were unevenly steady, and heifer calves steady to $5 higher. Good sale there in El Reno, and they were your Superior Steel sales, home of Superior Standard cattle equipment. Stick out sale of the day, and you look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central. You see your best tested weights on Wednesday. There were 310 head of 6-weight steers in El Reno, averaged 665 at 380.52 on the weighted average. 771 head of the 7-weight steers averaged 744 at 379.12. There were 1,099 head of 8-weight feeder steers in El Reno, Oklahoma. They averaged 842 pounds with an average price of $357.69. 518 head of the 9-weight steers averaged 941 at 335.68. Look at some of the heifers. There were 844 head of 6-weight heifers in El Reno. They averaged 643 with a weighted average price of $374.10. 636 head of the 7-weight heifers averaged 749 at $347.99. And 220 head of 8-weight heifers, OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, averaged 830 pounds with a weighted average price of $333.31. I've got several individual quotes from all over, and there were record high prices on Wednesday. Emporia Livestock Sales in Emporia, Kansas sells 68 steers, weighed 733 at 405 1/4. Wow. How about North Arkansas Livestock in beautiful downtown Green Forest, Arkansas? They sell 68 steers, weigh 740 at 395.50 through the ring in Arkansas. Got to put wheels under them, guys. How about Hub City Livestock in Aberdeen, South Dakota? 65 steers, weighed 884 at 379. That's getting close to a record there. Another one was Coffeyville Stockyards, the North Barn in Coffeyville, Kansas. There 380 steers in one whack. They weigh 749 and bring 383.50. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday in your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Bassett Livestock Auction. It's the one I give you the rundown on a break even. It was 100 steers, weighed 936 and bring 375. All-time record high on steers that big, guys. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.